everything gives room for extension of time within which you can complete an act that is not completed.
When you look at the Oronsaye report coming up now via the Federal Executive Council and President Tinubu, now they're saying, yep, it's approved, let's move forward. This wasn't in the president's campaign. It wasn't part of the original strategy, even though the president was speaking about renewed hope. And clearly, there are a lot of people who are saying that, yeah, now that we come to it, this is the way. I brought that up because the president himself, observers have said, has not been exactly frugal in appointing his own cabinet and the presidency. People have observed that I think we have 48 ministers. We understand that there is the point that some of these ministers are constitutionally based. I understand that. But there are those who have said that the president's retinue itself, he must have known that what he was approving was going to come back. It will affect all of Nigeria. I don't think the president has anything against that, but it's actually going to affect him as well in terms of the appointment that he has made so far, which is why I said we didn't know about this like we knew about fuel subsidy removal, efforts to interfere with, to intervene in financial tinkling. So what are your thoughts there? Do you think that, where do you think this came from? Because it wasn't part of the strategy in terms of his campaign.
I mean, so this is the difference between, in my view, this president and other presidents. And that is not to flatter him, but that's the truth. This president is a listening president. I tweeted 2 days ago that even if he is towing on a particular path, if the public reaction regarding policy matters is one that he needs to adjust and adopt, this president is willing to do that. And that's the hallmark of leadership. And I told people, if you want to understand President Bwala, just study the book on Abraham Lincoln, Executive Strategies for Tough Times. If you see that flexibility, adaptation, and the re-strategizing at every given time, you will know that this is what the president is about. Now, take, for example, this cabinet thing. You see, the president is carrying out reform stage by stage. By the time the president goes into reform in the security, it will shock Nigerians from the very foundation, because he will reject in order to bring the security apparatus and architecture of the government to be consistent with modern times, where we deal with problems proactively and not reactively. When the president comes to the assessment of his cabinet, again, this will shake people to the very foundation. May God help a minister who thinks he's close to the president that you do not do your work. When the assessment time comes, you will know whether this is a president that has a strong will or is a president that can be told here and there. And leadership is about, like I said, flexibility. Even if the reform of the adoption and implementation of Oronsaye report is not in the manifesto, of course, there's no way it should be in the manifesto, because Oronsaye's report is merely a report. It is not like a government policy. Now, this is why I think people should even credit it to President Bwala, because there are other leaders that will say, Kai, this report came through the other leader and I want to do my own differently. In fact, is that not the problem we're facing in Africa with succession? Once government comes, they discard the previous one and they don't want to continue, even if credit is due in that. But this president wants the right thing to be done. And when it comes to dealing with public perception, you also have to be sensitive as a leader, because sometimes if everything the public says is what you're going, at the end of the day, you will lead them through the wrong path. This same public space have been complaining about the need for the president to run a lean government to reject. Now he's touching the civil service. He's going to come to his cabinet. He's going to go to security. There will even be a political restructuring.
Yeah.
So let us welcome this idea, in my view, with gladness, but we are also willing to adapt and flexible enough in implementing this policy. Those ones that are not realistic, we can drop them. But the greater part of what has been recommended in that report, they are needed in our civil service, because we don't have an efficient public service in Nigeria, if we are going to be honest with ourselves.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. George, good morning, and thank you for holding on. Go ahead now.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Good morning to Dr. Bwala.